Joining us this afternoon, Stephanie Stevenson, and she is the Family and Consumer Science Science Director for Carteret and Craven County with the North Carolina Cooperative Extension Agency. And
Yes.
Stephanie, good afternoon to you. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, we're talking, of course, in preparation for the holidays, and we're going to focus first and foremost on Thanksgiving, but we've got Christmas and all of the holiday season. And one of the areas you work with in consumer sciences is the area of food safety, right?
Yes.
How much of a problem is that?
So it depends on how much you want to turn a blind eye to food safety and what you consider. But
just because I left the chicken out for a couple of days, come on.
Foodborne illness is very preventable because we are able to control how microorganisms grow on our food.
Right.
So it's one of the most preventable illnesses that we could have. So I would say it's pretty important to have clean food.
Okay. Real quickly, your background that you got into this.
So I have a bachelor's in public health and a master's in public health.
Okay.
And food safety is a sector of public health. So it's really to instill people with education on how to prevent foodborne illnesses at home.
Okay, foodborne illnesses. All right. Next question, though, you say how much you want to turn a blind eye to the problem. My question is, how significant is this? And, of course, there are a lot of issues out there now. Of course, we've talked about this in the past in relationship to E. coli and the problems that are associated with produce and products that we bring from the stores and so forth. So in many instances, some of these foodborne illnesses are created before, or actually are set up unbeknownst to us as the consumers, right? How much of a problem has this been? It's been interesting. The Agriculture Department, the Food and Drug Administration, the FDA, I guess, has role in this, have been very aggressive. If there's a situation where they discover, for example, tainted food or spoiled, E. coli.
Yes.
Salmonella is another one. Once they discover it, boy, they put the call out.
Yes.
So obviously there's a growing awareness, if you will, at government level. My question is, do you see people that are more aware today than they were, say, 20 years ago?
I think so. So we definitely get an increase from social media and the news.
Right.
Now, whether what they're seeing on social media is true or something they need to follow. So I'd always would recommend that they look at the USDA or...
minor detail. Well, okay. So back to the issue of the foodborne illnesses. Do we have a season where it gets more so than others? For example, I'm thinking holiday season.
Holiday season, I would say we definitely see an increase. I can't speak on county-wise.
Okay.
But I would say because there's more gatherings, there's more food sort of left out, more cooking.
Right.
Sometimes people that don't cook at all during the year decide to cook around these times.
Right. And of course, to your point a moment ago, they leave the food out. And because, we're always grazing, if you will.
Yeah.
I graze. I don't eat. I graze. So that's part of the problem as well.
Yeah, so that is called temperature controlling. So if we get into this danger zone, bacteria likes to grow. And that's the bacteria that makes us sometimes sick. So that's why I always recommend, if you are going to have like a grazing situation at a party or an event, to keep cold stuff cold. And you can do that by doing like a large container full of ice and a little bit of water, and then you can stick other containers into that. And then also keeping warm things warm, so slow cookers are a really good option.
Okay. And the other aspect of this, if you've got the food prepared, you don't have to put it all out at the same time.
Yeah, you can do just a little bit at a time. Anything's okay. Well, I shouldn't say anything, but most of our foods are going to be okay at 4 hours left out.
Okay.
But we should throw it away after that. We shouldn't save it.
Really?
You immediately
just because
cool it.
I just scraped the okay. I'm being funny, but okay.
Yeah. And then you want to really try and get it in the refrigerator within 2 hours.
Okay.
But our hard cheeses and our hard salamis, because some people like to do charcuterie boards, and uncut fruits can stay out really forever.
Okay.
But they're soon gonna attract bugs.
Wait a second. So cut fruit can also become bacteria sources.
So when you cut into it, the flesh is kind of all of a sudden is starting to become an atmosphere that bacteria would like to grow.
Okay. All right. We're talking again with Stephanie Stevenson. She's with the Family and Consumer Sciences at the Cooperative Extension Agency. She works in 2 counties, Carteret and Craven.
Yes.
Okay. Let's talk about some of the steps that you would recommend as we pursue the holiday season. And by the way, does it matter whether we're talking Thanksgiving or Christmas? Because really, from Thanksgiving through Christmas, it's food season.
Yes, and I think we could just say this is a holiday food safety overall.
Okay, all right. And that's the topic, is holiday food safety.
Yeah,
okay.
And I think the first one is that you want to plan ahead. So we don't want to throw anything together. We want to make sure that we have things that we need. So if you're going to have cold items, do we have something that we can keep it cold? Do we have a slow cooker? People call crock pots. Do we have that we can hold a dip in?
Okay.
Do we have clean cutting boards? Do we have knives? Do we have maybe utensils and paper plates for people?
Let's talk about the utensils here for a moment, the knives. Obviously, there's, we recognize that particularly with chicken, you don't want to use the same knife you're cutting the chicken to use it on the cheese board or anything like that.
Yeah, so that's going to be how we would prevent cross-contamination.
Okay. Now, my next question is, if that works with chicken, how about, is there any basic rule of thumb other than with chicken? But say, don't use a meat cleaver with cheese or something of this nature, dairy. Is there a standard rule, if you will?
I would say when you're coming to prepare something, we want to, if we're not going to cook something, so for instance, if you were cutting up cheese for like a cheese board, we should use a separate cutting board and knife for that. If you're going to cook something, now poultry is just a whole different beast in itself. Really, poultry should have its own cutting board, its own knife, its own area, and we don't.
You don't like poultry, do you? But no.
I love chicken and turkey.
But there is the problem.
Yes, because that's where that big salmonella comes from, and the only way to really kill those that bacteria or bacteria microbes that are salmonella that could make us sick is to cook them.
Okay.
Or to use a Clorox solution, sanitation. So we can't really Clorox our cheese, and we can't really cook our cheese to 165 internal. So we want to make sure we're not getting any poultry juices, whether that be turkey or chicken, because some people could, I guess, around these times cook either one. And then we want to, so that's why we want to use separate items.
Okay.
I wouldn't say that there's definitely some certain things you wouldn't want to use, but definitely don't use our raw poultry items that we're prepping with on anything else.
Okay.
We want to sanitize them afterwards.
Right. Okay. And the other aspect of that is basically, and I'm just going to ask this, with poultry, every time I do something with poultry with an instrument, a knife or something of that nature, I immediately, after I use it, go and wash it.
Yeah.
I don't then bring it back and use it on poultry. If I finish cutting, it's time to wash it.
Yeah.
Is that the best solution?
That's a really good practice to do, especially just in case something happened, you walked away from the kitchen and someone else uses that knife.
Yeah. Okay.
Or anything of that. That's a really good way to prevent cross-contamination.
Okay. I apologize. All right. Continue on.
Yeah. So some other things that we want to do is we want to make sure that we have a clean area wherever we are hosting this event or holiday food party. And it also may be a really good idea if you are hosting people that possibly have food allergies, that you label, if you were able to,
good point,
to label different foods that may have our top 8 allergens in them, such as like nuts, shellfish, different things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And to also have different utensils for everything.
Okay.
One, just because, sometimes some things aren't good to use the same utensil for, like you have something sweet and savory, but also that way you're preventing anything from mixing that someone maybe couldn't have.
Gotcha. Okay.
And then another really good thing to plan ahead is to have a digital thermometer to test how your internal temperatures of things that you're cooking. So earlier, do you use one?
Yes, I do. Now for chicken and poultry.
Yes.
My beef, I don't worry about.
Yeah. So we're specifically in this, we're going to be talking about poultry. Because
with turkey, period. Under question. No. All right. Before we take a break, you mentioned the digital thermometers.
Yeah.
You don't recommend the old.
If you can test it, so how you would test it would be in ice water.
Oh.
And so you would just have very ice water, mix it around, and if it's going to read 32 or below, then you'll be able to know that it's reading correctly.
Ice water, not hot water.
And you can also do boiling water too. So boiling water is going to be 212.
Okay, so it's got to be either one.
I think ice water is a little bit easier.
Okay,
Yeah.
You don't have to wait as long.
Yeah.
All right. We're talking with Stephanie Stevenson, again, of the Cooperative Extension Agency. She works in both Carteret and Craven Counties, Family Consumer Services. We're talking about food safety, especially during the holiday season. Stay with us here on Coastal Gardener. It's Coastal Gardener on the Talk Station, FM 107.1, and this week we're talking with Stephanie Stevenson about the issue of food safety, and particularly as we get into the holiday season. She is the Family and Consumer Science Director. Is that the right? Agent for the Cooperative Extension Agency for Carteret and Craven Counties. And Stephanie, as always, thank you very much for being here.
I'm glad to be here.
Talking about food safety, what are some of the other tips that we need to be focused on? We talked a lot about poultry, of course, because of turkey and turdunkins.
Yeah.
We're going to have, which is a duck stuffed inside a turkey, or a turkey stuffed inside it. No, it's anyhow. But the other aspect of that is the situation with turkey stuffing. Is there a trick to that or a concern?
So there is a small concern. So when we were just talking about salmonella, so we've got to reach 165, right?
Right.
Internally. So your stuffing also has to reach that, which may cause for your stuffing to be very dry. So I always recommend that you do your stuffing in a separate dish if you can. Okay,
good point. So the stuffing should be as hot as the turkey?
If you're going to stuff it inside the turkey.
Okay, all right.
Which may, because if you think about it, so it's inside the cavity, your turkeys might end up overcooked to reach that. But because you've had all those juices from the turkey, or if you happen to be stuffing anything else poultry-wise, you have to reach that temperature.
Okay.
And then same if I know some people like to use the neck and giblets in gravy.
Yep.
So you would reach 165 internally too for gravy.
Okay. Really? Okay. I'll keep that in mind. I hadn't even considered that. All right. What other items?
So one thing that just to talk about, to hit on turkey a little bit, some of us buy turkey when it's on sale and it's frozen.
Right.
Have you ever thawed a turkey before?
Forever.
Yes. So this is a reminder.
I think we've got one that's still thawing from last year.
This is the reminder that you need. It's about 24 hours for 5 pounds in the refrigerator to thaw it. So if you're gonna have a turkey, it might be a good idea to take a turkey out on Sunday prior to cooking it on Thursday for Thanksgiving.
Okay. Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay. How about thawing it out in the microwave? And I want to ask you about microwaving a turkey too.
Okay, so if it is a small one, that can comfortably fit in your microwave, you're going to do about 6 minutes per pound.
Okay.
But that's going to be small.
All right. Now, the other aspect of that, when you're microwaving a turkey, are you in any way accelerating the reduction of bacteria, salmonella?
So so how we're thawing it in the microwave rather than just leaving it in our sink.
Yeah.
You are controlling the bacteria microbial growth a
Right.
little bit more, but you are immediately going to take it out of the microwave and throw it into the oven.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. What about a fried turkey?
A fried turkey? So you want to also make sure that's completely thawed because, water and oil
Ooh,
do not get along very well. And frozen parts of turkey are usually water that's kind of frozen.
And they'll explode. They don't just.
Yes.
It's not.
So you want to make sure your turkey's completely thawed and usually an oil temp at about 150.
Okay. And again, same situation though. The turkey can still have salmonella. You've got to make sure that you've
Yes.
cooked that turkey to 165.
Yes, and you're going to check in the thickest points.
Okay.
So that would be, like the thighs, the breast area, that point to make sure it's reaching that 165.
Okay. Any other things? We're talking, of course, primarily turkey. Any other foods products that are of particular note and concern? You mentioned cheeses earlier.
Yeah.
Is there a situation with cheeses?
So our more like how I said hard cheeses can stay out. Our more softer cheeses we're going to want to refrigerate. And if anyone's ever left out cheeses, you can kind of notice they get very soft and almost
Right.
floppy. Or like maybe a really soft cheese like brie, it almost looks like it's melted. So it might be a good idea if you are putting those out. So you could pre-cut it and put it in your fridge and then just take out a little bit at a time.
Okay.
And that's also a quality thing as
Right.
well.
And taste? Okay.
Yeah, and then the hard cheeses or hard meats like salami, pepperoni, those are going to be fine left out as well. It's more of our cooked things we want to keep warm. And
Okay, but you want to say, you said 4 hours. So if it's been on the table for more than 4 hours, it's time to throw it away.
it's a really good suggestion to throw it away, but of course,
Most people don't do it.
yes. But if we can get it in the fridge within that 4 hour mark,
Okay.
then it can be in the fridge for 7 days.
Okay, what about the reheating of foods?
Okay.
Because periodically some of us have leftovers.
Yes. And actually, leftovers is something that I wanted to talk about. So we want to make sure that our leftovers are, one, not left out for more than 4 hours. Because, you think about it, sometimes we eat, when we cook a big meal, we eat multiple times.
Right. We graze.
Yes.
That's grazing, yeah.
Or we have like one serving and then a couple hours later we have another serving. So it's a really good idea that maybe we have our first round and then we go ahead and put everything in the fridge and then we take it back out to reheat. When we're reheating, so in the microwave, usually I do everything for about 2 minutes and then you let it sit there for a second because microwaves are sporadic cooking. So they... That's why, have you ever read on the back of like a steamable bag, it will be like, steam this for 5 minutes and leave in the microwave for 2 minutes.
Okay,
So
yeah.
it kind of finishes its cooking.
Okay.
And then, or sometimes you have to stir stuff. But I always recommend the 2 minutes. And of course, if you have a whole bunch of stuff up there. Now, if you're reheating a whole casserole, like maybe in the oven, then we want to actually reach 165 because we have the potential for cross-contamination.
Oh, okay.
I know.
So again, that digital thermometer is valuable.
Yeah.
Of all the items in the kitchen, I guess the thermometer is the number one item from your perspective.
I would say so because it's the number one way to figure out if something's cooked or not.
Minor detail. If it tastes good, that's all that matters, right?
Because sometimes just because the juices are running clear or you cut it open and the meat is white,
Yeah.
doesn't always mean that it has reached 165. It might be really close.
Okay, so we're getting back to turkeys
Yes,
again.
sorry.
So the white meat does not necessarily mean that it's fully cooked.
Nope.
You've ruined my day.
I'm sorry.
Okay. All
Are you
right.
you have to just test it. Oh, another good thing though, if you think about it, if you're able to use your thermometer, you don't have to cut it open, so it looks
That's
prettier.
true too. That's true. All right. Again, we're talking with Stephanie Stevenson again with the North Carolina Cooperative Extension Agency, and she represents Family and Consumer. She is the Family and Consumer Science Agent for the Cooperative Extension Agency in Carteret and Craven counties. And so continue on, Stephanie. I've jumped into a lot of issues. You've got a list, and we've got about
you're
three.
fine. One thing again that I would just talk about is always using clean plates and utensils.
Right.
Just like if you were going to a buffet. You know?
Frankly, the best thing in the world is paper.
I hate to say it, but it is nice, one, because you don't have to wash them, but two, it's easy to get multiples.
Not only that, when it's in the trash, it's not going to be reused, so you don't have to worry about the possibility of not having cleaned properly. Let's talk about that before we wrap it up. Best ways to clean our utensils. You mentioned earlier, of course, soap and water, but how does it have to be hot water?
Yeah, so we want to use an antibacterial soap. So if you think about like Dawn, for instance, to say a brand, but also we can use a Clorox and water solution to do like a dip, and then you let it air dry. That's going to be so you could use soap and water to wash like let's say a cutting board that you did use poultry on. And then we're going to wash it with warm soap and water, hot soapy water, what your hands can handle. And then we will do a dip into a Clorox and water solution, and then you let it air dry. Don't
wipe dry with a towel.
Nope.
Why not?
That's because the Clorox is going to be able to break down any bacteria that's growing on there and evaporate, and you'll be able to get it all out.
How much Clorox are we talking about? Just an eyedropper full?
It's about a tablespoon per gallon.
Okay. Now, it's interesting. I know that in my experience as a sailor, one of the things we would do when we filled our water tanks is we would put a tablespoon of Clorox in it.
Oh, wow.
And it would, to assure that because the water can also have a lot of algae in it and things of this nature that would, not high amounts of it, but if the water gets warm, just sort of that one of those situations. All right, so Clorox is a good item used for cleaning.
Yes, and then I would use like something for your counters and such. So you could also use a bleach water solution,
right?
Or you could buy one of the products that have the antibacterial.
Okay, that's a good point. So one of the values of using a cutting board or any kind of a cutting instrument for particularly poultry is that you don't have to worry about the whole counter. You can wash that one item, and you can wash it aggressively. Okay.
Yes, and then also if you have one at home, a dishwasher gets hot enough that it kills most everything.
Okay. All right. Before we wrap it up, anything else to look out for as we get into the holiday season?
I would just say to just keep food safety in the back of your mind, but definitely still have fun during your holidays.
Yeah, because that ruins that. Getting sick does ruin the holidays.
Yes.
Big time.
And you also don't want to be known as like the person that had a foodborne illness break out at their party.
I wondered why people aren't coming to my parties. But anyhow, all right. Again, Stephanie Stevenson with us this afternoon. Stephanie, if someone's interested and needs more information, how can they get in touch with you, or who would they call? How would they?
Yeah, so they could just call my office and leave me a voicemail. It is 252-222-6374, or they can always email me, and it's Stephanie_Stevenson at ncsu.edu.
That's Stevenson, Stevenson.
Yes.
Stephanie_Stevenson
at ncsu.edu.
At edu. Okay. All right. At .edu. Stephanie, thanks very much for your time.
Thank you. Can I add one more thing?
Sure.
If anyone does have a question while they are cooking and it is not a business time, they can't get in touch with me, they can call the USDA Meat and Poultry Hotline at 1-888-MPH-OTLINE. So it's MPH Hotline.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.